is going to be the death of me. Hello, this is Bacho. Today we're doing a tier list video. This is a video that's designed with the sole intention of exploiting the YouTube algorithm. Today's tier list is on working directors, working movie directors. And by working directors, I mean people who've put a film out within the last 10 years. At least the last 10 years, the last decade. And it is also judging them on their current ability from recent years. So even if they were amazing in the 90s or 80s, I'm still going to be judging them for what they've done more recently. I've compiled a huge list of directors, 99 to be exact. I couldn't quite get 100. I wasn't really aiming for a specific number, but 99's good. I'm happy with the list. I'll explain the tiers. Okay, so at the bottom we've got Hack, so that is just like the worst, lowest of the low directors. Can't even call themselves artists, just an absolute insult to filmmaking. They don't respect the medium, just nasty, devilish people. Above that tier is incompetent, so that's perhaps people who mean well but still make absolute shite films. And I don't just mean like one scene was filmed badly, I mean like they're really evidently incompetent. You're like, fucking hell, this is embarrassing. The next tier up from that is bland, because that is I think where D would be, D tier. Bland is just when you start to get bang average, you're semi-competent but not really doing anything unique, because as a director you should be competent but also have a unique voice, or at least have something unique to say. And bland is for people who are competent and have made it in Hollywood, but just the most wet, dull, plain bastards in existence. So like Brett Ratner. I don't think Brett Ratner's on this list because I haven't really seen anything from the last 10 years of his, but like he would be the perfect example. It might as well be called the Brett Ratner tier. So now we're venturing into the more positive sphere, talented. Now this tier can apply to people who are up and coming, or people who just show little signs of potential. I like to call it the spark tier, like they've got a spark, they've got something about them that makes them pop. They just haven't come into their own quite yet, or at least perhaps it's someone who's for the most part bland, but okay, there's something about you that you just need to go into that side more. Or maybe they've gone to Hollywood, they're leaning into like the Hollywood lens and they're not really expressing themselves, they're just making formulaic shit. Their artistic side's been stunted, they're not using their full potential, that sort of thing. Next tier up is remarkable, and this is for substantial filmmakers who are very competent, very distinguished. And this is kind of where it gets a bit blurry between the higher tiers, but it's just a kind of a gut feeling at this point. But yeah, people who've made really, really good films, maybe even great films, I'm not sure. This is kind of just a funny, weird gimmick, this tier list thing. So that's, yeah, remarkable. I couldn't really think of anything, I don't know, remarkable. Like, substantial, you know you're going to be in for a good time for the most part. Maybe they've done a few duds here and there, but they've, for the most part, made it artistically in Hollywood or the film industry. So the next tier up is auteur. I think auteur theory is something you learn at film school, and it's basically if you're an auteur director, you are someone with a unique style, and that applies to, in my opinion, it applies to every single director who's worth a damn. So technically, people who I put in remarkable or talented could fit into the description of auteur, but this is just like when you start getting into the snobby, like, oh, this person's a fucking one of the best directors. It's kind of like this bracket is the league of great directors who should be remembered throughout all time. Like Criterion will be restoring all their films. They've made very, very unique stuff. They've changed people's lives. And so we're getting onto like godly tier anyway with auteur, but the next one up and the highest tier, S tier, it would be genius tier. This is for people who are just absolutely geniuses, just fucking Da Vincian, Shakespearean tier guys. I'm going to try not to abuse or spam it. I think there'll be a lot of runners-up I'm going to put in auteur bracket and then decide maybe at the end who qualifies. I don't know. I don't want to spam it too much. I want maybe like even below 10 people should go in there, below 10 directors. It's basically for like Kubrickian tier, just people who kind of were perfectionists or just mastered the art of film. They were born to be filmmakers. And obviously the lines blur between what genius and auteur is. But anyway, that's how I've done it. And now I just want to get into it because I want to have fun. So we start off with Aaron Sorkin. Aaron Sorkin is mostly known for his writing, his screenplays. He's written for shows like West Wing, The Newsroom. He does have a distinct style, a writing style, dialogue mostly he's known for. The best thing he's collaborated on, I believe, for me, is The Social Network, where him and Fincher teamed up. The Fincher directed Social Network. He only wrote for it. However, because this is a strictly director's tier list, I'm going to have to judge him for his directorial debut. I believe it was his directorial debut in 2020, Trial of Chicago 7. Fairly competently made, enjoyable film, mostly because of the screenplay. I'm not really sure if without the screenplay it would have been anything unique. Just kind of derivative biopic sort of filmmaking. Oh, this is difficult because he's definitely not bland. If you watch his films, they're not completely bland. The direction is bland though, for the most part, and the best stuff he's worked on is elevated by other amazing directors. So he hasn't quite made it, but again, bland implies that he's not really got any potential, because he does, but he just, I don't know. The thing is, I don't think he's going to grow, going to challenge himself, because he's already made it. Everyone already reveres him. Trial of Chicago got nominated, so he's going to think, oh, well, I've done a good job there. Oh, I think he should at least go in talented. I know it's kind of fucking screwing the rules up a bit, but yeah, he should go in talented. Aaron Sorkin talented. Anyway, next one, Adam McKay. Adam McKay, so what's he done? Okay, Adam McKay started off working on films like, I think he directed Anchorman and other Will Ferrell comedies, but recently he's gotten into doing serious films, real films, because comedies aren't real films, and he's done The Big Short, Vice, and he did a pilot for Succession. The pilot for Succession, which is an HBO series, is probably my favourite work of his. Vice I've not seen, but it didn't look at all appealing to me. It just looked like another generic, conventional American period piece, biopic, whatever, that gets nominated for tons of awards. The Big Short I have seen, and a lot of people that I really know like it. It deals fairly comprehensively with the subject matter. I just think there's nothing special about the direction. I feel like a better director could have done a much better job with it. It's not a particularly good film. Obviously the story behind it is interesting, but I don't think the comedy or the fourth wall breaking is subtle or well done. I just think it's very American, when you see Adam McKay, he's directed like Anchorman in the past, it does make sense. The thing is, by the time Big Short had rolled around, there'd been a lot of other films been made like that already that were just better at getting people who aren't typically interested in the subject matter invested. Like Wolf of Wall Street, I didn't give a shit about stocks, but Wolf of Wall Street's a remarkable film. So yeah, there's been a lot of Wolf of Wall Street copycats like that, in my opinion. I do think that Wolf of Wall Street started a trend. So anyway, Adam McKay, I'm gonna have to put in bland bracket, bro. Bloody hell, this is gonna take hours. Adam McKay's going in bland bracket. Okay. On to the fucking weird artsy people. Alejandro Jodorowsky. Alejandro Jodorowsky is perhaps one of the best filmmakers of all time. A Chilean director, I believe, of Chilean origin. He's directed amazing avant-garde films from the early 70s. You can see he's an old man now, but he is still directing films. A lot of directors who grow old and become quite elderly, who just keep on directing films, lose their flair, lose their edge. This guy has not lost his edge at all. His two recent films that came out this decade, Endless Poetry and The Dance of Reality, two remarkable films. Even if you don't like them, there's so much about them that's great, or at least expressive. You cannot deny they have flair. I think The Dance of Reality is the better film. I'm not sure if I think they're masterpieces. Also, by the way, if you're going to watch those two, watch Dance of Reality first and Endless Poetry, because they're like a really weird rendition of his early life. Very surrealistic. He's a surrealist director, I should have said that, but yeah, one of the best surrealist filmmakers of all time. Can you see it? He made that, actually. El Topo. The Holy Mountain, which is his most famous, which is like everyone just takes and does load of drugs and sees what happens. But no, on its own, it's still brilliant. He's definitely going in the Artur bracket. I'll perhaps have him as a runner-up, but I'm pretty sure he does deserve genius. Oh, it's going to be so... It's Captain Indecisive over here. But judging him strictly on Endless Poetry and Dance of Reality, okay, he's definitely at least a solid master Artur G. So he goes there. Alex Garland... Come here. So this is alphabetical, by the way. Yeah, this is all I'm doing alphabetical. It's going to take fucking ages. Alex Garland has his roots in science. I think he's a scientist. I don't know. How do you say it? Science expert. He's one of those Bill Cox, Brian Cox people, whoever the guy is. Alex Garland has made some very impressive science fiction films and a TV show recently. I'm pretty sure he wrote and directed all of them. But the first one was Ex Machina, or Ex Machina, I think it's Ex Machina, which has been a while since I've seen that, but I remember it being a solid film with really good acting from Alicia Vikander. But a very cool concept. Then the more recent one was Annihilation, which again, really interesting stuff at play going on. Not quite something I fell in love with. There's definitely stuff there. I think other people loved it more. Definitely a cult classic at the very least. Definitely competent, definitely interesting. Some horror aspects in that film that, I don't know, should have been left out because there was fairly manipulative uses of sound and also a character stupidity, which is common in horror films, which is just nice. Yeah. But conceptually, very interesting. However, his most recent stuff has kind of solidified him for me. Devs, which is an 8-part, 10 parts episode, 10 episode, 8 episode series, which he put out, I think 2019 or 2020, I don't know, I can't remember. It's all a blur as to when all this shit came out recently because of lockdown. Devs was very well directed. I didn't really have any big gripes with it, like I did Annihilation a little bit. Way more of a solid piece. I remember really enjoying it and really just wanting to watch the next episode. All the characters are likeable. He knows how to portray science and these concepts that he's obviously passionate about and has a lot of knowledge and experience about, but also knows the art of storytelling, how to make it interesting and intriguing to people who wouldn't otherwise be interested in certain topics. So yeah, he's definitely got it. Is he remarkable? Maybe if he just had one more film that came out that was like of the same quality of Devs, just a very well-rounded near masterpiece, maybe he'd be at least solidly in the remarkable tier. I don't know, just the Fook. He's definitely better than Aaron Sorkin, but I'm going to put him in talented for now. But yeah, he's a solid director. Why isn't he fucking remarkable then? Alejandro Inarritu. Oh, here we go, baby. Alejandro Inarritu. This is going to be pretty easy for me to decide where he goes, but he's been making films for quite a while now. He did a film called Amoros Perros, which is about dogs, which is the best film about dogs perhaps ever made. Very good film in his early days, in his early career, and very good films in the modern landscape. So the two films you'll probably know him for are The Revenant and Birdman. I think Revenant came out 2 years or so after Birdman. Birdman is my favourite of those two. I really do like Birdman. I think it's one of the best films I've seen at the cinema. Obviously got the long take, but before it was overused. That was actually an intricate long take movie with really good performances and camera angles that were important, not just a fucking gimmick. Just a brilliant film around Birdman. The Revenant was less impressive, but extremely visceral still. Very good performance from Tom Hardy, actually. For the most part, any other director making that film would have made it fairly bland or fairly forgettable, but he made it really special. There's a lot of natural lighting and long takes. Yeah, he elevated a fairly simplistic film. He's definitely an auteur for that. I think he's probably one of the best filmmakers working today. So yeah, and obviously he's recognised by Hollywood because he's got one of those Oscar things. Moving on to Alfonso Cuaron. I think most of you should have heard about him by now. I don't know who the fuck I'm talking to. It could be like complete punters or actual cinephiles, so you probably know all of these people anyway. Alfonso Cuaron, what did he do? You'll know him mostly for Prisoners of Azkaban, Harry Potter Prisoners of Azkaban, which is the best Harry Potter film because he directed it. He stepped in, did one film, it's the best of the whole fucking series, the only good one. He also made Children of Men back in the early 2000s, which is a masterpiece, or at least a near masterpiece. He's an excellent technical director, but also has the human side to back it up. He knows how to get good performances out of people. His recent film, Roma, was fucking astonishing. I loved it. I think it was one of my favourite films of the given year. Just fucking brilliant. Just everything I love about films rolled into one. Just fucking lit, that film. So yeah, he's definitely, for the time being, going in the auteur bracket. Fucking, yeah. If you haven't seen Rome already, fucking watch it. It's on Netflix. It was distributed by Netflix. It's black and white, but I promise you, it is boring, because all of these good slow films are boring, but there's a good kind of boring, which is the artsy boring, and that's the films you should check out. So yeah, watch fucking Roma. It's brilliantly told, visually fucking so expressive. Anyway, also Alfonso Cuaron, one of the best directors working today. Andrew Stanton, I didn't even know who this fucking cunt was until I looked this up for the director fucking list. He directed Finding Nemo, WALL-E, and Finding Dory, and the only reason I bring him up is because there's 3 or 4 notable reoccurring Pixar directors that I just thought I'd include. So yeah, Finding Nemo and WALL-E are really good, really strong films. Finding Dory is just fucking shit. All of these Pixar directors have unfortunately gone the same way as Pixar itself, just at a downward spiral. So Finding Dory was shit. If we're judging him for that, that's the only film made in this decade. He's not going to fare well there, but because of the previous goodwill, let's say you can get goodwill points from films you've made the prior decade in the 2000s, I think he can definitely get, he's definitely, to say bland, it's just a bit of a piss take, innit? Where is he? I can't find it. Oh, there he is. So yeah, I'll put him in talented, like the spark. He's got a spark. He could very well make a masterpiece, you know, in his years left. Just say no to the Disney money, or say, listen, right, I am fucking making a challenging kids film that adults can enjoy, and we're going to bring that back because that's what Pixar was all about. Okay, next one. Oh, I'm very excited about this one. Ari fucking Aster. Ari Aster. Honestly, I'm surprised that he looked like this. I just expected from the films he's directed to just look like some old, miserable Lars von Trier kind of guy, but he's looks so very young and fresh out of fucking college. Ari Aster directed Hereditary and Midsommar. Hereditary first, obviously, it was the first one to come out. I remember it being very hyped up in terms of how amazing it was by like people that I really respected and saying it's a great horror film. I didn't quite get Hereditary the first time round. I think I've watched it twice or 3 times now. I do think it's a solid horror film now, however. To Mark Commode's dismay, it was compared to The Exorcist a lot when it came out, which is probably the go-to kind of horror film to compare it to, which is what Commode said. The reason for that is because it's this intelligent horror film with these undertones and a solid theme. There's a clever allegory for something else, and a lot of those 70s films have that vibe to them, like Don't Look Now and The Exorcist, all about different things but at the same time about supernatural events. That's probably where the comparison came from. So just to say, I think Hereditary is a great film. It's not one of my favourites. Toni Collette's obviously brilliant in it. It's a very interesting, very creative horror film. It deserves the hype, to be fair. But then a few years later he did Midsommar, and Midsommar I fucking adore. I didn't have to warm to that at all. First time I saw it, fucking loved it. Second time I watched the 3-hour version, fucking loved it. Just a ridiculously immersive, unique, fucking classic. Well, I think it's one of the best of this last decade. I think it's a fucking near masterpiece. Honestly, Midsommar is one of the most unique films, one of the most fucking era-defining films of recent years. 2019 just fucking banged a bunch of fucking amazing films out that completely like just shifted the quality of the decade in terms of film. But yeah, Ari Aster. Oh, I mean, he isn't a genius yet, Ari Aster. He needs to make a few more films. He's definitely an auteur, definitely a fucking brilliant director. Excited to see his next film about... It's got Joaquin Phoenix in, that's enough for me. But yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, love that guy. Going easily in the auteur bracket. I don't think he's going to be a runner-up for the genius tier, just because he is fairly up-and-coming, even though Midsommar, let me fucking hell. I need to see a few more films from him before I make that. Well, who cares? I'm not going to do another one. Next up, Ava DuVernay, if I'm saying that right. Okay. Ava DuVernay. A little bit hesitant including Ava DuVernay just because of seen very little of her work. I believe she directed Selma, which I haven't seen. Came out years ago, that. I'm not going to watch it because there's not really much buzz about it. I mean, if a film like that gets through all like the award seasons and just it's not remembered, it means that it was just riding off certain trends of the time. I know she was at least creative director for the Netflix show When They See Us, which I watched the first episode for. That was fairly good. It was fairly competent. She reminds me a lot of Catherine Bigelow in her style, I guess maybe because she's a woman, but just like, you know, gritty documentary feel to recapturing the like real events. Obviously, things about that When They See Us is that the subject matter is so inherently like interesting, maybe is the bad word, controversially, you know, upsettingly interesting. I didn't think that her directing was particularly well done, but I also know that she directed A Wrinkle in Time for Disney and it was an absolute piece of shit. I haven't watched it, but you know when you see so many reviews and so many clips that you do feel like you have seen it or you've seen enough of the film to know that yeah, that's probably going to be shit. Literally everyone in the film community says it's a pandering, fucking horrible, transparent Disney piece of shit. I'm going to believe them. I think she's become a very politicised name. As a director, maybe she's got the spark, but if you're selling out to Disney like that and making something like that, I don't respect that. So I'm going to put her in bland. Like, we've had so many fucking biopics that are all shot with like, oh, shake it up and Catherine Bigelow, Paul Greengrass kind of thing. Oh, God. Now we're finally into the B section. Barry Jenkins. Just in case you thought I was racist for the prior director, I can prove that I'm definitely not with Barry Jenkins. Thanks for popping up, Barry. Barry Jenkins directed Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk. It's been a while since I watched Moonlight. I watched it at the cinema. I remember it being a very good film. It's one of those films I just want to rewatch at some point. But if I'm going off If Beale Street Could Talk, which came out in 2018, that was a very good, fairly underrated film. Did that have Dave Franco in, by the way? I remember Dave Franco showing up in one of these, like, depressing films about, like, racism. Anyway, he's a subtle director. He's a very good director, so definitely. If Beale Street Could Talk is a very sensitive coverage of, like, the African-American life in... I don't even know where Beale Street is, but that's where it's set. It feels way more genuine, less like dramatic and of the time, but just, yeah, it's a good film, specific, unique. Obviously, because the topic of racism is quite a hot topic at the moment. I feel like any old douchebag can come in, make a film about racism and say, oh, everyone goes, oh, it's brilliant, it's praising it. Even if it's a true story, if they're directing shit and it's manipulative storytelling, they can get away with it at the moment. So it's important that we isolate the people who are actually sincere in what they're doing and competent and genuine in their coverage of this subject matter. And there's plenty of great black directors who working in that field who are. I imagine if I watch Moonlight again and I fucking love it, it'll be easily an auteur, but for now I'm just gonna put him in remarkable. Below. Bo fucking Burnham. Okay, you should all know Bo Burnham. I'm pretty sure he's like in a band or he does music. He's one of those names that keeps coming up and like, Bo Burnham, where have I heard that before? I only know him from 8th Grade. He directed 8th Grade, which is a very good film, very good starter film if it is his first film. He'd also made that documentary, which he technically directed, I believe. Inside was just about him in lockdown going fucking pranging out. I haven't seen it though, but everyone loves it. I'm going to judge him for 8th Grade though. That is a very strong film, and I know there's a lot of like, 'cause it's an A24 film, and it's like everyone's sick of the whole, it's all, everyone, the quiet protagonist or abnormal protagonist, but it is a very sincere film. So he's I think he's there. Or maybe is he here? I mean, it's his first film. Maybe we should put him in talented. Yeah, if Alex Garland's there, fuck it, we'll put him, yeah. Bong JoonHo. This is, yeah, good one. Bong JoonHo. I think you should all have heard of him now because of his big success over Parasite. If we're judging it off Parasite, then yeah, it's definitely at least auteur or remarkable. He also directed Okja, which came out in 2017, which isn't nearly as good a film as Parasite. Definitely has a poignant message to it and its own unique flair. Interesting cast. That's an American / South Korean film because it's like half and half in terms of like the spoken language. Then before that there was Snowpiercer, I think in 2013, which I watched and didn't like at all. Thought it was bland and preachy and shy. So, but I know I've recently seen Mother, which came out in 2009, and that was a very solid film, brilliant film, really. He's definitely got what it takes. And fucking Parasite was fucking like masterfully done. I know it's like, I guess, cool to hate because it's how much buzz came out of it, but fucking Cannes were raving about it. Fucking so many people from so many different fucking areas of film were raving about it. It's not just the Oscars. And I went into it and I was like, okay, just watch it. And it was really entertaining. You can't deny it's fucking entertaining as hell. But I wasn't like, okay, is it a masterpiece? I don't know. But then the more I thought about it, it was like, there's a lot of shit to chew on there. It's at the very least a brilliant fucking film, Parasite. And Bong JoonHo is just fucking, yeah, he's fucking great. Next up is Brad Bird. He is an animation / action director. He started off with The Iron Giant way back in, I think, maybe the late 90s. He also collaborated with Pixar. He directed The Incredibles and Ratatouille, which are the two best Pixar films in my opinion. He's the best director who's ever worked for Pixar. Very visually expressive. He also made Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol in 2011, I think, or 2010, which is one of the best Mission Impossible films. Action-packed, fucking tense, brilliant action scenes, actually, yeah. I think everyone should have seen Mission Impossible by now, but yeah, he's just got such a energy to him that he just pumps into any project he works on. I think he recently did that Tomorrowland film, which I haven't seen. That kind of came and went. I wasn't interested in that. But he did make Incredibles 2, and they've been making a lot of shite sequels, old Pixar, just for the sake of nostalgia. Incredibles 2 is probably the least bad of that bunch, of these new sequels, these needless sequels, just because he gave it a very unique visual flair. Just some really cool shots for an animated film. Very fluid camera movement, I remember. Anyway, so I feel like he just hasn't had the opportunity to make a great film in a long time, but I'm not sure. He's definitely... he could be here, but he just hasn't had as much consistency. He's just, I don't know, he's in the fucking middle of Disney, fucking cesspile, Pixar, wherever, you know, it's hard to really say. I don't know what's going on with him. Definitely remarkable. Bryan Singer, apparently this guy's a nonce. He is. I'm pretty sure he's a nonce. He's been convicted of some horrible things. Been cancelled, but I can't take that into consideration here because this is about directing. Because this is completely amoral. This is an amoral YouTube channel. I don't care. What did Bryan Singer do? Okay, Bryan Singer made a bunch of X-Men films in the early 2000s. Made them really popular. Made them really cool. Made X-Men what it is today, probably. Is responsible for that. He made X-Men Days of Future Past in 2014, which is a film I fucking love. I think that's the best X-Men film. Just fucking brilliant adventure film. So, you know, gotta give him credit for that. He did Usual Suspects, which I don't really rate too much. I think really that's in the screenplay, really, which is Christopher McQuarrie. There's not much directorial substance there. I don't remember. Not a bad film, Usual Suspects, but just for all the hype it gets, it's just, you know, it's alright. It's just like, you can guess the twist. It's the typical, like, oh, it was him all along twist. Like, I was always told, like, you'll never guess the twist, but maybe invented that it was him all along cliche sort of twist. Bryan Singer recently, I think he was directing Bohemian Rhapsody, and then he got Me Too'd, and then someone, I think maybe a unit director finalised Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody's a piece of shit. Pandering, awful, manipulative. One of the worst true story films of recent years. Waste of Rami Malek's time. I'm glad he got an Oscar for it, though, because it was a good performance. Also, the most recent X-Men film that Bryan Singer did was absolute shite. It was X-Men Apocalypse, I believe. I think he got cancelled before X-Men Dark Phoenix or whatever the fuck. X-Men Apocalypse was fucking shite. So, at his best times, he's got an almost Spielbergian kind of thing to him. He can make very exciting films. He's got the spark, but it dwindled because he's been cancelled as well, so he's not making any more films, and he was going towards, but he did have talent, so he's going in there. It's not like he's got potential, because his career's over. Who's this? Next up is Celine Sciamma, who is a female. The only film of hers that I have seen is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I hadn't heard about her before that. Portrait of a Lady on Fire is a very, very good film. Because so many films came out in 2019, and you kind of watch so many, it's like, oh, bloody hell, so many great films. It's hard to... I'm not really sure where I stand on Portrait of a Lady on Fire, if it's like one of my favourites, or it's like a masterpiece for me. It's definitely got something to it. It's like about women, and it's not pandering at all. It's just so sincere. She obviously has the makings of an auteur, but obviously she hasn't made as enough films of that I've at least seen. I think it was a directorial debut, easily in the remarkable tier. She can probably be an auteur soon, baby. You have the makings of an auteur. You have the makings of a great warrior. Who's this? Chang Dong Lee. No, Chang Dong Lee's a fucking G, but I just have to briefly remind myself what he did. He's only directed one film that I've seen. I think he's got a whole repertoire, but he directed Burning, which I believe is a 2018 film. Burning is a very well-made South Korean film with all these kind of undertones and subtext I don't even know the true meaning of, but it was interesting on a surface level just to see. Very immersive, very gripping, brilliant performance by Steven Yeun from Walking Dead. Great locations. You know when you're not sure what a film's about, but you fucking know there's something there. You know with all your fucking heart there's something there. It's definitely under there. It's like watching a David Lynch film. It's all fucking weird. You have no idea what's going on, but you know that there's something staring back at you. There's some message. And anyway, I'm not trying to hype up the film, but Burning's a really good film. I hope you check it out. It's a kind of crime gripping thriller, fairly minimalistic though. He could be an auteur based on, I guess he's had Burning isn't his first film, I'm not sure, but he's definitely remarkable. Maybe if I'd seen more films of his, he would be in the auteur one. But no, we can only have one South Korean director at a time. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, boy. Charlie Kaufman, initially a writer, the best writer in Hollywood, easily the best writer in Hollywood. Fuck Max Landis, he sucks. Charlie Kaufman wrote Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, Eternal Sunshine, which were all directed by different people, but he wrote all of them. He probably blanking on another one. But then he started directing in, I think, 2009 with Synecdoche, New York, which is I want to rewatch, but More recently, he did Anomalisa, which was 2015, and I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which is 2020, I don't know. Yeah, 2020, fucking hell, I reviewed it. Both of those films are kind of near perfect for me. I'm pretty sure I'm Thinking of Ending Things is a perfect film, but just very inaccessible, so maybe not in that way perfect, but still a fucking brilliant, flawless, almost flawless film in terms of like thematically. Anomalisa, fucking astonishing. I remember rewatching it and wanting to love it again, and because I think the first time I was like, fucking hell, but I really wanted to absolutely love it the second time. I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm pretty sure it's a fucking astonishing film. It's at the very least just ultimately endlessly expressive in terms of like visual storytelling. It's a stop motion film, I believe, or is it? I don't even fucking know. It might like be animated to look like a stop motion film, but he barely got it made because he's not a very household name, really, Charlie Kaufman. He struggled to fucking get Anomalisa made. He's struggling at the moment to get films made, which is very unfortunate because each film I've seen of his is fucking brilliant. He's also got a writing credit for Kung Fu Panda 2, which is weirdly enough one of the best Kung Fu Panda film. It's got a lot of heart, so if that was all him, then I've got him to thank for that. Honestly, even though he's only directed 3 films, I think if we talk about writing, he'd be right in the fucking genius bracket. Easily fucking there. The thing is, genius directors, they make like really high concept, profound films with all these messages in, but they also make them extremely decodable for modern audiences. Like anyone can watch. There's certain masterpieces that are brilliant, but everyone can watch them and enjoy them and know them for being great. I'm Thinking of Ending Things isn't like that because a lot of people fucking hated it, and Anomalisa I don't think is like that either. But fuck it, I'm just gonna put him as genius for now. Fuck you.